It's Friday night, which means it's time for another episode of the Friday Night Nicktoons podcast. I'm Casey.
And I'm Ashli. Last time we discussed the Hey Arnold episode Stoop Kid, a classic of our time.
We also put out our weekly Twitter poll asking which stoop was the greatest stoop of all. The Spanish Steps in Rome, the Pyramid of the Sun in Mexico, or Stoop Kid's Stoop in Hillwood. And, of course, predictably, you guys voted for Stoop Kid's Stoop. It got 65% of the vote. The Spanish Steps was second with 26%, and then Pyramid of the Sun with a pathetic 9%. So I don't even know how to unpack this one. These are some strange results.
Yeah, I mean, maybe the Pyramid of the Sun is just lesser known than the Spanish Steps. I thought, honestly, it was going to be like 95% Stoop Kid Stoop. Because the memes, right? Like the joke, like
when you guys all voted for Carl and Judy as the best couple of Jimmy Neutron.
Honestly. Like, that's what I pictured. And I did not expect the Spanish Steps of Rome to get 26%. I have actually been to the Spanish Steps and the Pyramid of the Sun, and I thought the Pyramid of the Sun was pretty impressive, guys. Like, that's a stoop that's up there. That being said, I still voted for Stoop Kid Stoop because, I mean, come on, man.
Well, yeah,
it's an iconic stoop.
Someone who lives in New York, I've seen the Brooklyn brownstone stoops, and, I don't even need to go to Rome and Mexico to get it, that there is no greater stoop. Ashley, when you come into New York, but Ashley's officially coming to New York again, well, semi-officially, we gotta go find one that we're gonna decide is Stoop Kid Stoop. We gotta go on a mission and find the perfect stoop.
We gotta take a picture with it. I like it.
The whoever lives there just looking out their window like, what on earth?
Like, we're just looking for good stoops over here, don't mind us.
Or we should sit on it and refuse to leave and get arrested for loitering.
Oh, goodness. Or, who even knows? There's so many ways we can go with this, guys.
Oh, man.
Or, we bring a football with, leave it on the stoop, and then we set, like, a whole thing of me trying to steal it, you yell at me.
I hide in the trash can.
Oh, yeah, guys, this is good. All right.
Oh, man. Well, what are we doing this week? We have an episode this week, don't we? As much as I'd love to keep talking about Stoop Kid.
And I could forever, but this week we are discussing the greatest crossover of all time, the original Jimmy Timmy Power Hour. We know that, that Avengers movie or whatever has gotten some hype over there for being a good crossover, but nothing comes close to this, folks.
No, this is the greatest crossover event of all time. Similar to Stoop Kid's Stoop, it is so above its competition. Give us a follow on Twitter at FNN_podcast, Facebook, facebook.com/FNN podcast, review us on Apple Podcasts so others can find the show, and check out our YouTube page.
Thanks so much for tuning in. Now let's get started.
From the Nicktoon Animation Studio in Hollywood.
Alright guys, this week we are covering the infamous Jimmy Timmy Power Hour. It aired on May 7th, 2004, and it's from Fairly Odd Parents, but also Jimmy Neutron.
Oh man, I'm reading this.
Oh, is it bad?
It's not great, but I'll
leave this
I'll
in.
shorten it.
Guys, these we just copy and paste these synopses, and they're always trash.
It's just, yeah, but okay. While struggling with his science project, Timmy Turner wishes that he could be sent to the best laboratory in the universe, which ends up being Jimmy's lab in Retroville. And then we sort of get this situation. Jimmy ends up in Dimsdale, Timmy ends up in Retroville, and they both have to save the day in various ways. We've got Goddard on the loose, we've got Crocker on the loose, and it's a whole exciting crossover between worlds, crossover between animation, and just an exciting time all around.
Absolutely. And it's really, I think this might be too high praise for this episode. It's great, but I really think it captures the best of both worlds in that we get all of the minor characters, we get both sets of parents, who Ashley and I have both been on record as loving, and they unfortunately never interact. I'm hoping they do in the second and third one. I don't think I've ever seen the second or third Power Hours, so don't spoil it for me. We'll get to it eventually. But the first major note that I had here isn't really about the crossover element. We start in the Fairly Odd Parents universe, and Crocker is introducing the science fair concept to the kids, and Crocker is just so physical. Like, it sounds obvious, but there's something so funny about that. He didn't have to be that way. They decided to make him this, like, unathletic, sort of schlubby guy, but he's so animated and he's always doing ridiculous stunts to punctuate everything he says.
Oh yeah, he is such a highlight of that show, honestly, him and all of his madness. And this is no exception. And of course he goes on talking about the science fair, and Timmy, shockingly enough, has done no work on his science fair project. But we do get to see the other classmates' projects, and they are all so just, like, stereotypically them, right?
Yeah.
Like,
a boil lancer for what's his name?
For that kid with the boil. Elmer's that his name?
Yeah.
I don't even know. There's, Chester makes, like, a flying, trailer or whatever, mobile home, whatever it is.
Yeah. AJ makes clones. Which I feel like is not the last time those clones happen.
Yeah, they seem vaguely familiar to me too, but either way. Also just that idea. He just, like, has 11 clones of himself, low-key.
Yeah.
And we'll get to it,
Why does that
but
not automatically win every science fair? That's amazing.
what I'm thinking. Like, okay, so, spoiler alert, guys. If you haven't seen it, I'm just gonna jump ahead. It ends up being that Goddard wins Timmy the science fair, and, like, yeah, it's a robot dog, and that's pretty cool, don't get me wrong,
But
it's a flying robot dog.
literal human cloning being done successfully. Yes. That is breakthrough science.
And, like, successfully done 11 times for the same person, too, right? Like, this isn't just, like, a one-off, like,
presumably
he has
no deaths, although could you imagine there's this, like, dark side of AJ where he's, like, trying, like, maybe he made 1,000 attempts and only 11 lived.
You know, the other thing, too, is what is his game plan? What is he doing with these clones in the long term?
Yeah.
Is he just keeping them?
Good point.
Think about the sustainability of that, too, assuming that these clones all need to eat and, you know, all need their own space and everything. Like,
do they all go into foster systems spread out across the U.S.? Is this like an Orphan Black setup? There's a spinoff we gotta watch. AJ's clones get separated across the country.
Love it.
That's it.
Anyways, though, Timmy has nothing because he's trash, as always, and I think we flash back to something about Cosmo convincing him to not learn, as always.
Before we move on from this moment, Timmy needs a distraction to sneak out of the classroom, so he tells Crocker, "Look, a child in pain!" And without missing a beat, Crocker grabs a chair, a large popcorn, goes, "Where?" and starts shoveling popcorn into his mouth. I thought that was so funny.
Oh, it so is. It's one of those lines and one of those things that's just so over the top and ridiculous, and it works so well in the Fairly Odd Parents world.
Mm-hmm.
Just all of it. Just all of the over top things. Popcorn coming out of nowhere. Crocker's excitement at the very obviously, like, evil child in pain. It's so good. It's so good.
And even though I knew what this was and I had seen it as a kid, the transition to Jimmy Neutron happened quicker and more suddenly than I thought it would, and it totally threw me. I was like, what's happening? Why? Then I was like, yes, the entire point of this movie.
Yes. Right. So first he wants to go to the greatest lab in, I think I might say the world or something. I don't know what it is, but he goes there and it's AJ's lab, and he obviously can't take any of AJ's experiments because AJ, being the brilliant clone-making scientist that he is, would know. So instead he wants the greatest lab in the universe. And Casey, I think this is interesting.
Yeah.
Because this means that Jimmy's lab is apparently some kind of factually better than AJ's lab.
Oh, I thought you were going to say that they exist in the same universe.
No, we can live with that too,
I think it's
but
just bad writing because they treat them like parallel universes, not the same universe. But it's like have you seen? We might have talked about this. Like, have you seen how there's like all these elaborate theories of how iCarly is really a part of the Marvel Cinematic Universe?
Oh my god, no, that's hilarious.
Isn't that amazing? But, like...
Oh, boy.
Like, yeah, people on the internet have gone too far this time. But it is funny, like, maybe there are just two different Earths in this universe on far ends of the galaxy, or of the universe. It doesn't even have to be the same galaxy, you know?
Yeah, you just kind of got to deal with it, I think.
And are they happening at the same time, or are they also traveling through time? It's unclear.
But all that matters is that Timmy gets over there, right? He's in the universe's greatest lab, which is none other than Jimmy Neutron's, which I guess is fair, too. I feel like Jimmy spends more time in his lab than AJ, maybe. I'll allow it.
Are they dissing Dexter's lab here, the writers, or does that exist in a different universe?
It's really hard to say, Casey.
Sorry, I'll come off this. I'm obsessed with this idea now.
Or, like, professional scientists' labs, right? Like, the two best labs in the respective
Collider,
worlds.
Or whatever it's called.
Are children, right? Like, children are making the world's... We're both caught up on different problems.
Yeah. So, big question I have that's sort of captivated me is, why are crossovers so thrilling? Why do we love them? Like, there was just a Scandal How to Get Away with Murder crossover that makes no sense because, like, I believe President Obama existed in the How to Get Away with Murder universe, but in Scandal... Obama never happens. It's President Fitzgerald Grant. So, like, that's one of many things that doesn't work. But we love it. We love crossovers. That's kind of the whole Avengers franchise. That's the whole point of it. Why is that?
It's hard to say, but it is exciting. Or, I don't think you played either of these series, but there's a Professor Layton Phoenix Wright crossover game that happened.
I didn't know that.
Yeah, which was super thrilling. I don't even remember what it was called anymore, but yeah, there's a crossover between those two games, and it's like part court style, part puzzle game, and it's like, it is not, in my opinion, better than either of the two games on their own, but it was still just so exciting.
Yeah.
Right? Like, I think it's more of just, I don't know, like, you're nerding out about both things at the same time, right? And it's like, you're excited about Fairly Odd Parents, you're excited about Jimmy Neutron, and it's happening at the same moment, right? And I don't know, I think it's also just fun to sort of really dig into those what-ifs, right? Like, what if Timmy and Jimmy collided? Like, what happens? How do these different character relations build out? And I don't know. I think it's hard to pin down exactly, but it is exciting.
It is, and I was thrilled by it too. I don't mean to have a judgmental tone of like, why does everyone like crossovers? I don't get what it is about it. I guess when you know the two worlds well and seeing them make jokes about each other, there's some great crossover humor in this episode. And some not so great. Like, every time Cosmo said fudge head, I didn't laugh. Except once. When he goes, I forget how exactly he words it, but they're in danger in Fairy World. And Cosmo's like, you've got to do something, Fudgehead. And then they're running. And he goes, you got to do something. And then a laser hits them. And he goes, Fudgehead, after the laser hits. The timing of that cracked me up. But the whole his hair looks like fudge thing, like, it kind of does in the animation, but it did nothing for me.
Yeah, there's most of their nicknames they have for each other, like, they keep calling Timmy small-headed Jimmy, and that doesn't really make sense to me because his head's still pretty big.
Right, that one got, I will say that one got me. I don't know what it is. I thought that was hysterical.
I don't know. I think I'm just like I was like, but I think like his actual head, like, Jimmy's hair is bigger? But I feel like Timmy's head is maybe larger, if not the same size.
Well, it's Sheen and Carl, so they're not really known for their intelligence.
Fine.
I'll
allow it.
They're like, Carl and Sheen find Timmy. Wow, I do this already? I always mix up Timmy and Jimmy, and now it's gonna be even worse. Carl and Sheen find Timmy in the lab after Jimmy has left. They have like a confrontation moment. Timmy, is using his gadgets. He puts on the brain one and he starts going like, I'm loopy, which was a great callback to the Jimmy Neutron universe. But it's Timmy, so we love it because it's a crossover. Anyway, there's a point where Carl and Sheen are kind of freaked out, and Sheen just goes, "All right, don't worry. The small-headed are easy to manipulate." What a great line.
It is. It really is. He also, I think it's Sheen that says that he scientifically altered the first letter of his name.
Yep. Yeah, Carl's astounded. He's like, "Wow, you made your head small and you scientifically altered the first letter of your name." Oh, we gotta talk the theme song, too.
Oh, yeah. It's fun. It's kind of like, it's not the characters immediately, but it's just kind of like the universes almost, or worlds, I guess, keep bringing in like bigger and bigger boom boxes in front of this microphone, and they like keep just destroying each other's to play their respective theme songs.
And the animation is true to each one, so we start with a cartoony boombox, you know, da 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 da, odd parents, fairly odd parents, and then it's super powered mind, mechanical canine, and it keeps going back and forth. I loved it. It got me really excited.
I loved it too. It was such a fun way of just getting them, like, the back and forth is well done, the animation style is well done, and that's one of the things too that's just exciting overall, is just the play between the animations. I think we can all agree that the Fairly Odd Parents animations look better for the things from Jimmy Neutron's universe than the other way around.
I think Fairly Odd Parents looks beautiful. Like, it's cartoony and stuff, but the color, the world is just so pretty. And Jimmy Neutron is like a bad video game. I like the writing and the characters, but I don't love the animation. I mean, I wouldn't change it. It makes the show what it is, but it's still weird to look at.
It's weird, and it's something about Timmy just does not transition well into it for me. I don't know if it's his oversized tooth or what it is, but like something just doesn't cross over properly. I do wonder. I'd imagine in the later Power Hours we get more crossover characters, right? Because we really only get Timmy and Jimmy switching places. We get
Goddard.
We get Goddard, yeah, but we don't get any of the others, I don't think, right?
No, we don't. And I'm so desperate for those parents to meet up. Because, like, remember at the end of 2016 when we did our secondary characters list? Or whenever that was. And I had Jimmy and Timmy's parents, and I had Timmy's parents, and you had Jimmy's parents. So, like, it would be a crossover of our lists, too.
It would be beautiful. We gotta put these somewhere on our list now, just because of it. I think, because there's three total, right?
Yeah, and I would like to do them soon, honestly. Not, like, immediately, but
no, but
I'd
say
few months.
Yeah, I'd say within the calendar year for sure. I'd want to do the rest of them. I think. Can we make that a goal for the rest of the year?
Yeah, that's our late resolution. And more Roccos was our initial resolution. We've definitely honored that.
I mean, we do kind of know. Well, I don't know if you've watched it. If you watched the live action films, we kind of know what Cosmo and Wanda look like in 3D animation. But
you're right.
I hope
that's non-canonical, though.
Hopefully it goes better than that.
That it's the fans have all universally decided it's not a part of the Fairly Odd Parents universe.
As should be decided.
But anyway.
Oh, we got to get into Timmy and Cindy have this whole thing going on.
It's so weird.
It's weird. It's also weird because, like, okay, Cindy's smart enough, I feel like, to see through Timmy's quote-unquote genius immediately, right? Like, he's an idiot, right? Like, all over the place. So I don't really know what she's getting all confused about here.
Discussing the gender politics of a children's TV movie is a bit of a stretch, even for me, but I was excited for this episode when we get introduced to Cindy and Libby, and they're talking about, like, great women historical figures, where Cindy's like, well, Susan B. Anthony could totally take Marie Curie or whoever, the nuclear...
Madame Curie, yeah.
Yes. And And then Libby comes back with, well, if she teamed up with Harriet Tubman, and then they're interrupted, and I was like, wow, yes, I'm here for this. And then, Cindy goes on to basically be a prop for Timmy. She's very much to like, I'm gonna help you through this, boy protagonist. And at the end, she's like, you're so smart, you made it all up for me to solve. It's like, oh, Cindy, you're better than this. They play it as love-struck, and to be fair, Jimmy gets really dumb when he's love-struck, too. It's just in the world. But I was hoping she'd have more to do. Or if they'd thrown in, like, Trixie or somebody in...
Or something, yeah. Because it's just a little weird. I don't really understand... Because Timmy's not really, like, girl-obsessed in his own universe, other than Trixie, but, like... Yeah.
But he certainly... He feels... It's sort of like when I entered high school and then when I entered college. It's like those first weeks and it's like, oh, they don't know I suck. Like, I can trick them.
Kind of know. I know the feel.
Or I guess a better example is like when you're in elementary school or middle school and you are either bullied or have low self-esteem and you go to like a camp or a like week-long trip and you realize no one knows who you are and you can be anyone you want and it's really exciting. And I think that's kind of what it's like with Timmy here. It's like, oh, here people think I'm smart. I'm just gonna roll with this.
Yeah, and he does, and you can't totally fault him on that, but again, it's just kind of a weird situation. But there's that. The bigger sort of, so there's two separate conflicts that end up happening, but the first one is that Goddard is going through an upgrade, and Timmy's impatient, and he thinks it's boring. So he's like, well, instead of this boring update, what if I put my video game in instead? Which I don't remember exactly what it's called, but it's something about a destructive robot.
Yeah. And
so Goddard gets upgraded to be a destructive robot. So there's that whole problem. And then we also have the problem of Crocker breaking into Fairy World. So we've got, these sort of two parallel issues. But I do think they do a good job of sort of keeping us in one world for a while and then moving back to the other one. It's not like a constant, overwhelming back and forth.
Right. Well, you've talked about the B, C, D, and maybe E plots, but let's talk about the A plot, which is Hugh and Judy Neutron role-playing as superheroes.
Oh, yeah, as Mighty Mom and Dino Dad. Or, no, not even. Actually, just Mighty Mom.
Oh, yeah. But it's pretty weird. Like, we don't need to get into that part of it, but the writers were definitely doing that with a wink.
Yeah, it is weird.
With Hugh's reaction especially. He's like, oh, this is what we're doing. Okay.
Yeah, and she just gets obsessed. Does that ever get resolved?
Not really. It kind of just that's just how their relationship is, honestly.
Yeah, that's fair.
Nothing really changes.
I mean, she's a little more over the top
That's
about cleaning
true.
And stuff,
Yeah.
right? And, like, mold is her weakness and stuff like that.
That was cute.
Yeah, so there is that moment with them.
Can we talk about how Jimmy, like, he has his repressed stuff, but he's kind of sexist trash? Like, the reason why Cindy likes Timmy is because he values her opinion. She's like, wait, you actually value my opinion? And he goes, sorta. And she is captivated by this. And Jimmy is mad till the very end of the episode that Timmy let a girl into his lab. It's like, doesn't science have enough gatekeeping, Jimmy, without you, the smartest person ever, barring women from entry?
Yeah, he's kind of trash. And I'm okay with him being competitive with Cindy in general, right?
If
like,
it were Cindy, that'd be one thing, but he says no girls allowed, which I get. It's like the kid fort thing, Jimmy's not an adult, he's a kid, but still.
But he's like a little bit past that, you'd think, right? Especially if he's a genius, maybe. I guess he does lack a lot of social capabilities,
That's true,
though.
yeah.
So,
yeah.
And it could just be him further trying to express his feelings for whatever we all...
Totally. Well, we also got to talk about Jimmy's interaction with Cosmo and Wanda, which I think is really entertaining.
Yeah, well, he comes to the conclusion that they're holograms, so that's a good start.
Yeah, that is, and it's a nice sort of, Cosmo and Wanda are like, I'm Cosmo and I'm Wanda and we're, and they look at each other nervously, and Jimmy's just like, oh, of course, holograms, and they're like, yeah, let's go with that, and they respond to him in a specific way, and he goes, oh, wow, you must have been programmed with super intelligence. Cosmo goes, do you hear that? He called me super intelligent, and he turns into a superhero with IQ instead of the Superman S. And then
Yes.
Jimmy, he's like, go ahead, ask me a question, and Jimmy asks something that's not a numerical question, and he goes, 7!
Yeah, I think actually Wanda asks him, why won't you shut
That's
up?
what it is.
And he responds with 7.
It's
So
a
it's
great
like-
moment.
It is. It's a very Cosmo moment. It's his classic stupidity, but it's
Right.
done so well that you just can't be
Yeah,
mad.
the bit of Wanda being annoyed by him is underrated too. Like, we think of Wanda as the sort of bland, like, straight man of the show, but she's got some bits with him, Like, Cosmo would be far less funny without Wanda. If Timmy had one fairy, it would be pretty miserable with just either of them.
Yeah, I mean, we do see that moment in is that in
School's
the?
Out?
No, I thought it was in the. Why can't I come up with the name of it? Abracatastrophe.
Oh, yeah, I think you're right. Yeah.
Where he has just Cosmo and Cosmo falls apart.
That's true,
Now
yeah.
He needs Wanda to keep him together.
We also have this great moment. So Ashli figured out when we were watching Angry Beavers that it's the same composer as Jimmy Neutron, which was a great catch because they're such different shows. But there was a moment in part of the episode where that like Mexican song, the one that always plays, it's a real song. It's not just in Angry Beavers, but it starts with every title card. That you know what I'm talking about? That started playing in the background. I thought that was, it must have been a nod to Angry Beavers, right? But it didn't really make sense with what was happening. So maybe the composer was just lazy and was like, stick that in again.
Could be. Either way, there's a solid catch by Casey over there. And then, yeah, so, to be honest with you, I don't think the conflicts that go on or their resolutions are particularly interesting.
They're ridiculous. You're right, it's so less about the plot. I will say the build to them is great. Like how Timmy, like, the way they get there is great. Like, Timmy being too lazy to wait for Goddard to upgrade, causing all of the chaos. That totally makes sense.
Yeah, and I do think, it's got its moments there. It's more of just like, and I think both resolutions are just kind of uninteresting, right? He just kind of powers down Goddard, and then he, that's about that, and a similar thing, I think it's kind of interesting, Jimmy's just trying to find a way to get back.
Yeah.
And he ends up sort of reworking the transportation device, which was specifically only able to bring Timmy back to his room originally, but then it can bring him anywhere. And I thought it was kind of clever to be like, well, while he builds this device that can go anywhere, Crocker bursts in and wants to go to Fairy World specifically, right? Which, I think that's kind of an interesting way of him getting there.
It's a little convenient, because why does Crocker suddenly want to go to Fairy World now? That's never really been his thing.
I guess it's more of just he believes in Fairy World, and so, like, that would be a place for him to go and prove that fairies exist,
true.
right?
Yeah, that's true. Yeah, I bought it all. And when Goddard gets upgraded, they're all freaking out, and he's like, don't worry, the game's rated triple G, which makes you think that it's, fine, and then Goddard's huge and disastrous, and Cindy's like, what does triple G even stand for? And Timmy says, gratuitous gut-wrenching gore fest.
Yeah.
Classic joke.
Yeah. And it is fun for a little bit, right? He's just going around destroying things and getting bigger, and it's, it honestly does kind of feel like a somewhat standard Jimmy Neutron problem.
Yeah,
right?
it is.
But, like, the invention gets out of hand.
Right. I do wish the plots had somehow connected more. Like, the problems. Like, maybe somehow,
that might be...
Like, what if Crocker somehow started controlling angry Goddard,
Yeah, and maybe that's part of why, like, it just kind of feels like there's problem, easy solution, and problem and easy
And
solution.
they're both
So,
on
I mean,
separate tracks. You could watch this movie and you wouldn't have to watch each half. Like, you could split it up into two, mostly fine, except for the
Right.
big switch.
yeah, and you know, don't get me wrong. I still love this. I still think it's a lot of
It's
fun,
amazing. Yeah, it's one of
the-
my
it's-
favorites we've watched.
it's really it's more enjoyable just for the excitement of the crossover than the content of it
Right,
itself.
and the solid
right?
jokes and the dialogue, the characters interacting. It's great.
Yeah, and I've got to think that this must have been fun too for the voice actors and everything, right? Like you're working with people you're not normally
I
working
hadn't
with,
thought of
having
that must have been fun, yeah.
playing off of each other in different ways, like the whole thing. Cause you know, it's an exciting moment, and it definitely, you know, it lived up to my memory of it, honestly, overall. And I remember feeling kind of like the plots were quickly tied up. All right, let's resolve it, call it a day.
Right.
But
Better than dragging it out, I think.
yeah, for sure. I do agree, and maybe we'll have to see. Maybe in the second or third Power Hours, maybe they do a better job of creating one central conflict that
Right.
sort of brings the whole teams together. We'll have to see.
Cool sort of musical dramaturgy moment where Jimmy has a brain blast in the Fairly Odd Parents universe, and then the Jimmy Neutron music starts playing. I thought that was awesome. It's the first time the other worlds are sort of broken musically. That was a great idea.
Yeah, and they also go sort of back and forth within his brain blast between like the standard brain blast Jimmy Neutron animation and the 2D Fairly Odd Parents animation. I don't know, it's just fun.
It was.
It's just kind of an exciting
And
thing
in
there.
that final moment, Crocker threatening Jimmy with an F is perfect. Like, of course, that would be the one thing that would freak Jimmy out.
Oh yeah, it would. He also touches an F towards the beginning and
That's right.
it like burns him, right?
Yeah, and yeah, I'm trying to think. Oh, we got this sort of magic versus science topic that's happening, right? Like, Jimmy at the end says, I don't know if I believe in magic, but, and it's like, oh, there's some doubt. Like, maybe he seems like his worldview expanded on this trip, you know?
Yeah. I mean, to be fair, in his world, there probably isn't magic
Right.
exactly.
Yeah, I guess not.
There are aliens and stuff, and they have like sort of weird science going on, but not magic, strictly speaking.
But then on the flip side, Timmy has never seen the use for science because he can wish everything right, but he's stuck
That's true.
without his fairies in a world where he has to ultimately kind of rely on these gadgets. And like he even says, like, science is cool when he's looking at Jimmy's gadgets. I thought that was a neat sort of, the characters both learn and then return to their original worlds.
Yeah, and you know, they do kind of go back on good terms, and
Yeah.
I think that's fun too.
Although
Just
that scene where they switch back is so good. Well, Timmy First.
Oh, I love it.
Timmy First says, "What's wishing?" Or Timmy says, "I wish we could go back to our original worlds." And Jimmy says, "What's wishing gonna do?" And as he says that, poof.
yeah, it's fun too. They're sort of slowly going back between, and they slowly transform back or into their original animations. Right,
Yeah.
we sort of have this moment where they're crossing over.
Cindy's
literally.
having a meltdown, and Jimmy's all embarrassed. That was funny.
Yeah,
Uh,
and like, don't
yeah,
forget
wait
me,
for
Timmy.
me, Timmy. It's
Yeah.
like, wait, where? For Jimmy
Yeah, I was
Timmy.
kind of wondering too.
Does she know there's gonna be a sequel?
You know, she's just in love with them apparently after what, less than 24
Oh,
hours.
absolutely, yeah. Probably less than like 5 hours, even.
Yeah, but it's, you know, it's fun, and there's also Timmy's like, oh yeah, I'm not actually a genius, and Jimmy's like, you know, I kind of figured that out
Yeah.
from all the F's.
And then he goes, well, thanks for everything, genius. And Jimmy says, don't mention it, average kid who no one understands. Brilliant. Just
Yes.
brilliant. And they fix the grammar error, because don't they say Timmy is an average kid that no one understands?
Do they? I'm not sure.
They don't say who.
No, I think you're right. Did he say who?
Yeah, he did.
Confidently?
Yeah, because it would sound weird as a line. Yeah, it is
Yeah,
that
you're right.
no one understands, but singing it, Timmy is an average kid who no one understands. No, it would totally work. It's just wrong.
Wow. I just never thought about it.
But I noticed it because they definitely switched it for the line.
Yeah. Either way, it's hilarious.
Oh,
It's such a
great.
good play there, which, he is just the average kid
Yeah.
that no one understands.
Crazy Ex-Girlfriend has a different theme song for every season, and each season they sneak in a moment of a character reciting the entire theme song in conversation. It's awesome. And they're long. They're like songs.
Wow.
So that,
Yeah, I haven't watched
made
any
me
of that,
think
but that's
that.
hilarious.
Yeah, this was. I loved this. I really did.
Yeah.
I smiled so much. It was just warm and cozy. Just nice
Yeah.
to hang out with these characters I like.
And as much as I didn't think Goddard should necessarily beat out the whole cloning thing, I did think it was sweet that Jimmy apparently figured out the portal thing and he portals in teleports in Goddard to save Timmy from having nothing in the science fair. So I thought it was it's a kind-hearted moment from our good friend Jimmy. Oh, and I do want to backtrack real quick too on the note of Goddard. Timmy's all like really, really worried about Fairy World coming to an end. And Jimmy's like, well, why do you care? They're just computer programs. And as he says that, Goddard kind of comes over and looks all sad, right? Like, and then Timmy explains, like, well, I mean, Goddard's just a computer too, right? But, like, he still means something to you. And I thought that analogy was really well done.
Very sweet, and I don't know if Jimmy would have sent Goddard if that conversation hadn't happened. Like, Timmy realizes at the last minute, that he does not have a science fair project. It's the classic start an episode plot with a certain goal and then completely lose that goal along the way because you get so wrapped up in all of the chaos. And he's like, oh right, I originally went to find a science fair project. And a portal opens and Goddard comes in the animated kind of thing, and in the Fairly Odd Parents animation, and there's a really sweet moment of them kind of thanking each other, even though Timmy can't hear Jimmy from controlling Goddard.
Yeah, but it's really cute. But yeah, it's again, we'll allow him to win the science fair with it because it's cuter that way. But that's about how it wraps up. It really is just. It's fun. The whole thing is fun. It flew by for me.
Mm-hmm.
It felt, like you could have told me that it was a normal half an hour episode length and I would have believed you. Like, it just was so easy to sit down and watch. You're excited the whole way through. And even though the plots are sort of short-lived and short-solved, that makes it feel like it goes fast,
Yeah,
right?
the
Like,
pacing is
we do
great.
cover 2 story arcs pretty quickly. So,
Totally.
I don't know what else I have to add. I feel like I'm probably missing something, and you'll probably let me know what it is.
For once, I don't think so. I'm going to do a quick skim, but no, I thought the pacing was really great, that we never spend too long in each world, but it never felt like we were getting whiplash going back and forth.
Yeah, that was definitely something that I think they could have gone too much back and forth, too much. We're in Jimmy, then Timmy, Jimmy, Timmy, and it definitely gives you time to sort of soak into each half of the plot.
Because it could have been like 2 minutes in each world, back, forth, and it would have been really disorienting.
Yeah.
Oh, the tour guide. Did we talk about the
Oh, there we
tour
go.
guide?
Yeah, so Crocker sneaks onto this tour bus of Fairy World, and he talks about, I forgot what it's called, it's like the Fairy World Armory or something. It's all of their weapons, and Crocker's like, so hypothetically, if somebody was able to, I don't know, teleport directly into there and steal all the weapons, could they become king of all of Fairy World? And he's like, well, only if they were evil enough to destroy the big wand. And he just uses like this cheesy tour guide voice, and he's over the top, like excited and explaining like the way that Crocker could blatantly destroy Fairy World if he wants to, and I just thought that was funny.
That's great. And the fact that they have an armory in the first
Yes.
place is amazing. Can't they just
they gotta
make
be
weapons
prepped.
appear whenever they want?
You know, there are some interesting questions as to the limitations of magic.
Yeah, maybe they
Casey.
have gun control in the
Yeah,
fairy world.
Maybe in the rules you're not allowed to create weapons, and they've only have these created weapons that they keep here that were made under controlled circumstances. You know,
Maybe. Okay, fair enough. We clearly put more thought into this world than like anybody else does.
we might have put in more thought than the writers originally. Honestly, they probably were just like, yeah, an armory that works. Okay.
Exactly. We'll have to ask. I almost called him Dan Harmon. Butch Hartman. Now there's a crossover that I would like
goodness.
to see. Oh man.
Okay.
Right.
But with that,
let's head over.
was that the last tidbit? Okay.
Yeah.
Let's head over to the conclusion then.
Alright guys, here is our Twitter poll for this week. Which Nick crossover would you most want to see? We picked 3 that we thought would be fun. We got SpongeBob Rocket Power, Angry Beaver's Cat Dog, or Danny Phantom Teenage Robot. And we have a theory behind each one if you want to explain, Ashley.
Yeah, alright, so SpongeBob Rocket Power, I said they're surfing or whatever, and they fall deep within the depths. They end up falling into SpongeBob's world. Let's just let it happen.
Is it like really dark that they drown and then their sort of last thoughts of hallucination are the SpongeBob characters? Or do they somehow start breathing underwater?
You know, it's debatable. It's debatable. Maybe even they decided to take up snorkeling or something.
Oh,
you
that
know,
would
like
be
I don't
cute.
know.
Yeah, okay.
They could do it. It's let's not overthink
I just
it.
love this idea where it's this like, you know, this just before death like vision.
You know, it honestly could be. They just dream it up. Either way, the interaction, I think, would be fun. We sort of called out some pairs. Like, we think Reg and Sandy would get along great.
Mm-hmm.
We think Otto and...
Patrick.
Yeah.
Oh, sorry.
Or Twister. Sorry, Twister and Patrick.
Otto
I guess
SpongeBob
Otto...
would be interesting. They're both pretty affable, friendly people.
That's true. That's true. I definitely think that Twister Patrick would have some good convos, and we had to do Squid and Squidward just because the names.
Yeah, and gotta get Raymundo and Mr. Krabs, I suppose, somehow.
Oh, you know, I could kind of see that somehow.
Tito is
I could see that working
Plankton.
out. They're all buds, though.
But yeah, then for Angry Beaver's Cat Dog, we thought, you know, siblings who are stuck with each other. One of them physically and one of them just because they're codependent.
Yeah, and I kind of think there would be an interesting thing of, I feel like Cat would be almost envious of the Angry Beaver's ability to be separate from one another. And...
But then, like, Daggett would totally be jealous of the fact that
Right.
they're together all the time.
He'd be like, oh, why don't we get to be together always? And it would be a fun play for sure. And then the last one here, Danny Phantom Teenage Robot, they're both sort of these... And I think we've kind of compared them too within our episodes. Just they're both these.
It's you know, it's like I've got the responsibility of saving the entire world as we know it. But who am I gonna take to prom? You know?
Yes, like absolutely yes. Like
it's so funny
both of
that there
them...
are 2 shows like that.
And I also think it's it would be interesting because they are both sort of saving the world in very fundamentally different ways, and
That's true.
You know, I just think it would be interesting. I feel like those characters would kind of get along well too.
That
I feel
one
like
might get my vote.
honestly, like I'd have to think it through. I feel
SpongeBob
like
Rocket Power is too tempting though. And Angry Beaver's Cat Dog. I want all of these to be made, and they'll get like 10 viewers on Nickelodeon, and I don't care.
that being said, we gotta ask for it. Cam, I know you mentioned you might start charging us, but if we have any free memes left, pick your favorite one, Cam, and meme it up.
It should be an easy
all I can
one.
ask for you.
It should be easy to do.
Yeah, I mean, you could just kind of copy pasta them in, right? Yeah.
Cam very clearly, like, directs these, right? It's not just I'm gonna slap a head on someone's body. It's like I need to find the expression, the scenario, and the body pose that's perfect for this. So I think I trust you on this, and no pressure. If you don't have time.
Oh yeah.
But these have been fun. So.
Or also, I guess anybody else
yes,
who might
please.
be meme inspired. Cam is not the only person allowed to make us memes.
Made us a meme once. A few people have made us memes. So.
Yeah.
We're counting on you guys. You're our only hope.
All right. So with all of the exciting crossovers, all of the potential combinations and the excitement of that, let's not forget that we have a regular podcast to run, guys. And next week we will be covering the Rugrats Mother's Day episode. It is going to be an emotional moment for sure. With Mother's Day coming up, we figured it was the appropriate thing to do, and get ready for some tears, guys.
Yeah, I haven't seen it maybe ever, but I already can tell. It's about Chucky. It's about what Mother's Day means to him. It's gonna be a lot, but I'm excited. Social media blast, Twitter, Facebook, YouTube, Apple Podcasts, whatever. Do those things, please.
And with that, thanks as always for listening, and we'll see you next week.